Every great story has some principles in common. Whether you're reading the story of Abraham or King David from the Bible, or watching the Avengers Endgame or Star Wars, you'll find some common elements in great stories. Great stories have four things in common. The first one is the main character. Every great story has a great character. Now, you are the protagonist of your story. You are a hero on a mission. The main character can blow it at times. The main character can be insecure and have issues. However, he can't be haughty or proud, or he immediately becomes a villain. Good ethics and high character, they make us like the protagonist even more, and we pull for them as we watch or read their story. The second element of a great story is desire. The protagonist is a hero on a mission. Now, the more audacious the desire, the better the story really is. The desire of the hero is the point of the whole story. So without a desire, the story is muddled. It lacks direction. It becomes a boring story. A hero with a strong desire on a challenging mission, now that's a page turner. During quarantine is a great time to figure out what you want, why you want it, and what you're going to do about it. Any kind of risky, sacrificial, other-centered desires alive in your story these days? If not, I could predict your story is probably a pretty boring story. Great stories include daring aspirations. There's a third element to a great story, and that is conflict. The protagonist in any story will have conflict. Now, how you handle conflict determines if you'll live a great or a boring story. Conflict is not bad. It is necessary, in fact. It gives a story meaning. It's the only way that a character grows and develops. God takes our mistakes and he says, now, let's write a story from this point forward. The greatest movies and books that we have loved are those that contain great conflict. For example, It's a Wonderful Life is one. George Bailey, he had tremendous conflict with his dreams when the stock market crashed and the villainous Mr. Potter made life difficult for him at every turn. He came to a point of suicide until an angel, Clarence, helped him see the impact of his life. Another example would be Titanic. Jack and Rose, from completely different social classes, they met aboard a ship that sank. They fell in love. Jack risked everything to give his life to save his beloved Rose. Now that's a story that's a page turner. The fourth category or element of a great story is resolution. Now, movies have this climactic scene where conflict resolves. It's different than in real life. Our resolutions may look a lot different than Hollywood endings. But without resolution, we get stuck. Now, one key to resolution is resiliency. Ever failed at something? If you're over the age of 1, the answer is yes. Maybe for you it's been school or marriage or a moral failure of some sort. Maybe it's been a financial failure or a ministry failure. Failure does not disqualify you from living a great story. Most successful people have had repeated failures. Another key to resolution is just to move on. I met a dear lady in conflict from wounds that had occurred to her over 50 years ago. She was harmed by a pastor and left that church and left God. And I wanted to say to her, dear, just move on. We've been to the moon and back since this conflict occurred. We've invented this whole thing called the internet since you were harmed. You're stuck in your bitterness, just move on. Spend a moment, would you, and just assess the story that you're living. Most of us undervalue the impact our stories can have on the people around us. God uses unlikely people like you and me, living great stories to be bright lights in this world. My friend Natalie Grant and some co-writers captured the essence of this dose of hope in her song, Burn Bright. I'm going to let her just end our time together today.
Lately I don't recognize you. The fire in your eyes is fading into embers. So while you're out there in the darkness, I'm praying you'll remember you were made to shine. You were made for life. Even if you've lost your way, turn and you will hear love say, you were made for more, so much more. Child of everlasting light, made to blaze away the night. So baby, burn bright. Burn bright. You can rise up from the ashes, make something.